Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and a major occurrence, in my opinion, in Dungeons & Dragons commentary. Ginny D saying, online D&D sucks. It's a pretty bold statement. Let's get into this. All right. So, here's the thumbnail from her video. You can see. Here's Ginny D on the right. Here's the words online D&D sucks on the left. And so that's a huge statement. Why does it matter that Ginny D said this, right? Well, it matters. I think it matters a lot. Well, here's the thing. She got almost 200,000 subs. She's coming up on 200,000 subs. That's that's approaching 250,000 subs. She's one of the biggest Dungeons & Dragons commentators out there. Okay, so when one of the biggest, definitely top 10 D&D commentators says online D&D sucks, everybody gotta, take a listen, right? Because that is a huge statement, right? Like, that's really big, right? And the reason, and get this, right? If you're Ginny D, right, you got a line of people that, any VTT would host her, and, any D&D, type vendor, to get content, and she has access to every possible tool to make it not suck, and she's saying flat out, online D&D sucks, right? It's a very, very, very fascinating statement. Here's what I say to Ginny D saying D&D sucks. Oh, yes, it does. Saying online D&D sucks. It truly, truly does. So one of the things I think is really fascinating is the pandemic has just brought this to light. So Ginny D is just speaking truth. She's just saying what we all knew. You know what I mean? And the thing is, there was a debate before the pandemic, and people were like, "Oh, online's great. You don't have to worry about minis, and the maps are better, and you can bring images up, and people can have side, channels on different, on Discord or whatever, and you could talk secretly between players, and saying all these things But here's the thing: the pandemic has just rocked everybody's world, right? And so one of the things that the pandemic did is it really took it to the online experience. And everybody's like, this just isn't anywhere close to the actual real thing, right? So also I say, preach. She's 100% right. Online D&D sucks, right? Now, what doesn't suck is real D&D at a real table, right? So and that's the point of today's video, is to say, where we are right now is Ginny D is pointing at the reality, right? The table is what matters, and we cannot let it go, and it has to be preserved. And this is the real game. This has always been, in my opinion, this is the real game, right? Ginny D didn't say this is a real game. She's just saying, people who are playing online D&D, let's call a shovel. It sucks. It does. It sucks. There's just no two ways about it. Right. Yeah. So Ginny D is, calling out something very real here, and it really means that we really need to be highly focused on the table. Now, one of the other things is that the pandemic has really brought to light, that has just made it crystal clear, is with education. One of the reasons why we know that Ginny is right, that online D&D truly does suck, is just the reality of education, right? So there's this idea that online education, you can bring in whatever teacher you want, right? You can quickly bring up pictures. You can replace books quickly, right? Because they're just PDFs, right? You don't have to give out physical books, right? It's horrible. Pandemic has shown online education isn't even the mere shadow of in-person education. So there are people right now who their kids are online, and there are people right now who their kids are in school, and there's no pretending. No one is like, oh, thank goodness my kid's online because they're just getting educated so well. It's the exact opposite. Everybody's like, my kid's online and they're learning nothing, right? This is not working, right? And Ginny D, it's really important that she said this. She's a huge D&D commentator, right? And she just put the truth, put the truth out there, right? Online D&D sucks. It just sucks. And, you know, and I'm, you know, and if I say that, it ain't going to matter. I, you know, I got close to 2,000 subs, right? But, like, it's not going to matter that much. But when somebody who's one of the top 10 D&D commentators says it out loud, you know, says the quiet part loud, people got to listen, right? And so what that means is we got to be really, really careful. This has got to be preserved. So how can you do that, right? Well, one thing is basically right now I'm a real proponent for one-on-one games. So there's a couple approaches to this. If somebody in your house is interested in playing, drop your online game and play with one person in your house. You're better off. You'd be better off dropping 4 online players to play with a single person in real life. And, you know, especially for the next 6, 12, 18 months. Hopefully we'll be out of this mess by then. You know, and so, and the reality is, because she's right. Like, two people at a table beats 5 online any day of the week. 1 DM, 1 player. It's just, and she didn't say that. She just said online D&D sucks. I'm concurring 100%. It does suck. The table's what matters, right? The other thing is, this shocked me. So I'm incredibly blessed. I have a beautiful wife and 4 kids. So I don't need a bubble, right? But I don't know if you know this. But most people, it took me a while to learn this word. But a lot of people in the pandemic have a bubble, and they're like, we're going to restrict who we have contact with, and we're going to have this tight bubble, right? And it'll be, again, like 3, 4, 5 people. They can all get together, but they limit their interactions, and they make sure that they don't really interact with anybody else in real life, right? Now, if there are people who are getting together within a bubble, right, totally not connected to D&D, it doesn't increase, you know, any risk if they're already getting together in proximity anyway. Or, of course, 6 feet distance to all that kind of thing. And also, just to be, well, if you're one-on-one with somebody in your home, well, of course, we would still use all the same regular, you know, pandemic safeties. But the reality is, if you have a bubble, that's another way you can get down to the real game, the game that matters. And the reason why we got to talk about that is, why we need to go down that line, is Ginny D is right. She is 100% right. Online D sucks. It is the worst, right? And so whatever you got to do to safely get back to a table game, and if that means, you know, killing your online game to put your time and energy where it matters, do it, right? If you have a bubble and you guys and you're already getting together with people, it's not going to increase your risk because you're already in proximity. Go that road. So I totally 100% like to Ginny D for saying online D&D sucks. Preach. I'm there with you. It does suck. We got it, and we got to remember what matters about this game is the table. That's the real game, right? And we don't want to stop anybody from using online D&D. I don't think that. Well, I would, if you have the option to safely replace online D&D, do it. Do it now. 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 Right? This is a zero-sum world. I'm telling you right now. Everybody's like, oh, whatever you want to do is fine. It's all equal. It's not equal. We all know that now, right? That's the other thing, is the debate's over. We all know online D&D sucks. Just go to Twitter, go to any social media site. You ain't going to find 1,000 people saying, oh, my online game is so much better than my old one. You're going to find 1,000 people going, good Lord, I would, I can't tell you what I would mow down 100 goblins to get, with my 8th level fighter to get to a real game again, an online, an actual table game again. And you just see it everywhere. It is, we just can't pretend anymore. It does suck, right? And we need to get back to the real table. That's what Ginny D, I think, allowed everybody to understand. And I appreciated that video. Ginny D's fantastic. Check out her work below. She's one of the most unique voices in D&D commentary right now. Big fan. And I'm really glad she brought truth to this. So that's my opinion. What do you think? Are you still hanging on to the idea that online D&D doesn't suck? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.